in Stockbridge. We do have a crew down there at that time. Let's listen in to what Darren Shearbaum is saying right now. Listening.
I am joined by our Chief Operating Officer of the City of Atlanta, LaShondra Burks, as well as the U.S. Marshal for the Northern District of Georgia, U.S. Marshal Brown. Our Sheriff, Patrick Labat, is here, as well as Lieutenant Bonaparte from the Georgia State Patrol. Back on August the 20th, the city experienced the loss of one of the citizens in a domestic violence-motivated homicide. We lost on that day Courtney Reese. The very next day, the Atlanta Police Department issued arrest warrants for Derek Rankins, who we knew to be very dangerous and posing a threat to this community. This morning, the Southeastern Fugitive Task Force, led by the U.S. Marshals, which is comprised of members of the Atlanta Police Department, as well as the Georgia State Patrol, went to a location in Stockbridge, Georgia, where we believe Mr. Rankins to be held up. At that location, Mr. Rankins opened fire on members of the Fugitive Task Force. During that exchange of gunfire, a member of this department, an 18-year veteran assigned to our fugitive unit, was injured. And thankfully, those injuries are not life-threatening. And I want to thank God for having the hand of protection of our officers today and the phenomenal staff of Grady Hospital for their work in providing medical care, which they continue to do behind us. Fortunately, no other members of law enforcement were injured. At this point, the suspect who we were seeking to take into custody is deceased, and the Georgia State Patrol, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation will be conducting an investigation into this officer-involved shooting. I do want to take time to thank the Sheriff of Henry County, Sheriff Scandrich, who used the helicopter of that department to transport our investigator from the scene of the shooting here to Grady Hospital so medical care could be rendered. And so at this point, our one investigator we believe will make a full recovery. I want to commend him for his bravery today. I want to commend every member of the Atlanta Police Department that reports to duty to keep this city safe. And just thank our partners who you see gathered around us who has arrived to show support and has been key in this operation today as we sought to take this individual into custody. And U.S. Marshal Brown, I'm going to turn it over to him to give comments at this time.
Thank you, Chief. The U.S. Marshals Service is comprised of a number of officers, in addition as certified U.S. Marshal deputies, but police officers and sheriff deputies from throughout the metropolitan Atlanta area.
You've been listening live to a press conference right now by the Atlanta Police Department. Right now, officials from the U.S. Marshals Department speaking as well. Again, this all related to a massive police presence in Henry County. I think if we have that audio back, that we can listen in.
For the Atlanta officer that was wounded in this, but we could not do the job that we do had it not been for the dedicated men and women of law enforcement throughout the metropolitan Atlanta area. And it just points to how sensitive and how dangerous this line of work is. So, Chief Shearbaum, we can't do it without you. Thank you for being a part of our task force in the state of Atlanta, and turn it back over.
Well, thank you, Marshal Brown. We appreciate you, Sheriff Labat, the Georgia State Patrol for the partnership, so we all do keeping our city safe. Open for any questions that you all may have now at this time.
We've seen so many instances of law enforcement being involved in these either search warrant cases or whatnot to put their lives actually on the line, as in this case. Has this impacted how you all handle procedures and protocols now with seemingly a bolder take when it comes to confronting law enforcement?
You know, this is a dangerous job, and I'm so thankful men and women every day say yes to this profession to protect this city, this county, and communities across the region. We have seen 2 members of law enforcement in the past week and a half lose their life, and our prayers continue to go out to Paulding County and to Carroll County. This is what we train for. We recruit men and women who have a quality to stand in the gap for their communities. We train weekly and regularly to make sure when an individual who poses harm to community doesn't want to go back to jail, that we can do so with the least risk to the citizens in the area, that individual, or law enforcement. This is what we train for. But I'm very thankful for men and women, particularly of the Atlanta Police Department, that serve the city, and very thankful that our investigator is going to make a full recovery.
So your protocols, procedures have not changed due to this recent uptick in law enforcement involved shootings?
Our training is always in the state of evolution for perfection and for betterment, and so it does not take one incident. We learn from all incidents, and we're always in the state of improving.
Was the suspect shot on the self-inflicted wound that was
You know, the investigation will determine that. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation will assume the next phase to determine how this individual's lost his life, and that will be one of the areas we will investigate. Was it self-inflicted?
What do you say to these perpetrators who feel like, they're one against the world, that, they don't really treat you guys with the respect even when you show up in numbers like this?
Our job is to teach everyone with respect and to make sure justice is done. And for individuals that may think they're going to continue to break the law and place communities at risk, you see a strong coalition of law enforcement that stands behind me and that is present throughout our region. Men and women of integrity is who wear the uniform of law enforcement. We're going to take someone into custody, whoever they may be, whoever dangerous they may be, for the sake of our communities.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you. Thank you all.
And you've been listening live to Police Chief Darren Shearbaum with the Atlanta Police Department as they gave us an update on a massive police presence earlier this afternoon happening in Henry County in Stockbridge. A number of law enforcement agencies respond to that. What we've learned is this all stems back to a murder on August 20th in the city of Atlanta, the murder of Courtney Reese, the primary suspect in that murder. Investigators going to apprehend that suspect there at a home in Stockbridge. You're looking live at that scene right now. And what we learned is in the course of trying to extend that warrant right there, an 18-year veteran of the Atlanta Police Department who is part of this task force was shot and injured. That officer taken to Grady Memorial Hospital. From what we understand, that officer not severely injured and will make a full recovery. In the meantime, the police chief there with Atlanta PD says the murder suspect is deceased. Right now, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation will continue their investigation into this incident. Again, a massive police presence there at a home in Stockbridge in Henry County. This is a story we continue to follow. We will continue to follow this on Atlanta News First.